Okay, so Ricky Gervais, famous comedian, The Office and all that, has got a range of vodka called Dutch Barn. He uses the proceeds to fund animal welfare campaigns, particularly donkeys. So he's looking after donkeys with the money he makes from this vodka range. He's a good guy when it comes to animal welfare. I know this. We're both patrons of a dog charity called All Dogs Matter. Up in North London, so but he does a lot more than I do, trust me. So he does this. He uses his fame and his fortune, or not, to raise money for the very worthy cause of animal welfare. He's been trying to get posters onto the tube system, the London tube system. Transport for London keep rejecting them. I mean, he wanted one, for example, that said, you know, have a drink now. What was it? You know, have a drink now, because what one was meant for the tube station is just, as he said, it was me having a drink, and it just said, one day you'll be underground for good. That was it. That was banned. Anyway, look, he posted a video expressing his fury. Have a look.
Right. I am sick and tired of the powers that be banning my billboards and adverts for Dutch Barn. Sometimes there's just nothing wrong with them, right? One that was meant for the tube station just had me having a drink, and it just said, one day you'll be underground for good. That was it. They went, no, can't have that, because it might make people think, oh, because life's short, we should drink to excess. Who's thinking that? Oh my God. Cowardly. Do you think it's my attitude? Oh, but you can't win, because, right, you're not allowed to say alcohol's good for you, or it does this, or it makes you feel confident, or it makes you feel attractive, which is fine.
Well, he's very angry, and this is a syndrome that carries on. He's now come up with some sort of spoof ones. One is him. He's sort of mocked up a tube station with a big poster of him with his vodka saying, visit London. Don't forget your stab vests, things like that, in order to taunt Transport for London for their prudishness. Well, look, let's talk to historian and cultural commentator Rafe Hadel-Manku about all this. Thanks for joining us, Rafe.
Always a pleasure, Kevin.
Well, look, you know, he's talking. What we're talking about here is this increasing prudishness, this ultra sensitivity that seems to surround that which we may advertise, particularly on the tube. I mean, last year there was a poster for a West End play called Tony and Tina's Wedding. That was on at the Haymarket Theatre, big theatre. There's this couple with a wedding cake in between them. That was the poster, and that was banned because wedding cakes are bad for you. They're full of sugar. And I mean, seriously. So what do you make of this ultra sensitivity that seems to surround advertising? Why can't Ricky Gervais put a poster on the tube station saying, you know, have a drink, cheers, have a drink, soon you might be underground forever. You know, that, you know, what's wrong with that? What's going on here? Why are we so sensitive about this?
Yeah, and there was another ad actually at the same time as the wedding cake one with the comedian Ed Gamble, who had a comedy tour called Hot Diggity Dog, and so understandably he had a hot dog in his poster. TFL made him change that to a cucumber. It made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Look, I would say, look, thank heavens for people like Ricky Gervais, you know, who are willing to sort of point out and call out this, as you say, this is a stifling, oppressive bureaucracy of, you know, apparatchiks who are so steeped in wokery and not wanting to cause offence that they're stamping out, you know, the fun, the creativity, all the stuff that we once associated with the very best of British humour. And what, you know, Ricky Gervais is doing is just in keeping with ads in the past. And gosh, do you remember, Britain used to be the world's best country for producing funny commercials. In the 1970s and 80s and 90s, you had worldwide winning, world award winning commercials. You know, remember the Cinzano ads with Joan Collins and so forth. But, you know, there were so many ads that wouldn't be made today. I remember in the late 90s, you had, I think, for a peanut company, you had Noddy Holder from Slade, and the posters all said, "Nibble Nobby's nuts." I really don't think that would be made today.
There was I've got one here. There was back in 2019 a food delivery company submitted a poster, but it was banned because some of the food they delivered was bacon, butter and jam, and it had pictures of bacon, butter and jam, and this was banned because bacon, butter and jam are arguably not very good for you. So what is the deal here? If you want to have a poster with any food on at all, it's got to be what, you know, cucumbers and celery, or else nothing else. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's the nanny state. I mean, you know, what's wrong with people actually being... You know, you can watch television and you'll still get commercials for fast food companies and so forth. They're treating us as if we're children, as if we're incapable of making decisions for ourselves. You know, he has said that he thinks this TfL company were saying, oh, well, if you're encouraging the benefits of alcohol, we're all going to suddenly become alcoholic. I think one of the ads was, have a drink even if you're an alcoholic.
No, I'll tell you what. One of his, it's a sort of area of confusion which ones he actually submitted and which ones he's come up with subsequent to this dispute. But one of them was drink Dutch Balm vodka. It's your tube driver's favourite morning tipple. But you know, we're laughing at that, and we laughed about the nibble Nobby's nuts. You know, what is wrong with this? Why have we become so prudish about all of this? I mean, we've become a more boring, puritanical nation, haven't we?
It's so fundamentally anti-British. You know, British humour has always been dark, slightly perverse. You just look at things like the League of Gentlemen, you remember.
Yeah.
I remember, not even that long ago, I think it was around 15 years ago, there was a gambling company that had an ad featuring a football team called the Blind Wanderers. And it was literally a group of blind football players.
Don't put your money on this lot.
The pitch, and one of them kicked a catch rather than a football. And so you had the RSPCA and all the blind people protesting over all of that. We've got to get a sense of proportion here. The things that are funny, they're amusing. It's part of the British character to make fun of ourselves. The self-deprecating humour is also part of British comedy. It's one of the great things that people around the world have always admired about us. And it seems as if whether it's comedy or free speech or freedom or whatever it is, we seem to be doing away with everything that once made us proud to be British. All the things you would say, well, this is part of the British character, we're just gradually eroding them all.
Bring back the Carry On films, I say. What do you reckon, Rafe?
Oh, Mrs.
You know, the Carry On humour is all based around misconstruing the word "it." You know, well, we're just going to have it. Ooh, but all of that joke, but it's the kiss me quick, you know, cheeky promenade humour that used to predominate in this country, that actually the Carry On films captured to perfection. Now we've come a million miles since then, and it probably is why on television there is no, basically there is no decent comedy, nothing to actually make you laugh.
Well, it's funny because I did a documentary on the Carry On films, actually. They're one of my great passions in life. The Carry On films.
Which is your favourite?
And Pink Panther was either Carry On Camping or Carry On Up the Khyber.
I'm a Carry On cabbie man myself, but
you're an old black and white fan.
I love Carry On. That's the original, I think. But anyway, sorry, we digress. You were saying
Carry On Sergeant was the original. But anyway.
Okay. I stand corrected.
But this is it. The very essence of British comedy was always slightly saucy, slightly bawdy. You can trace a long history from the Carry-Ons to the Donald McGill postcards, but even back to Shakespearean time. It's part of British culture to have rude, naughty bawdiness, and we've lost sight of all of that. But there's another thing here, and it's the hypocrisy of Transport for London, because also, not alone with banning food items that are unhealthy, they've also banned any depiction of women in a state of undress, for example. So they've taken down ads where women have been featured in bikinis or bathing suits. But as my good friend Peter Lloyd has pointed out on social media, there are lots of ads on TfL for a very famous central London male stripping show, which show men completely topless in sort of various sexual poses. That seems perfectly fine. And so there's this complete hypocrisy here between they decide, well, this is what the woke culture will accept, this is what they won't. And there's no rhyme or reason behind anything.
The favourite thing anybody has said to me for the past week was you, when we were talking about discussing drag queens, and you said that it's kind of sexist. Why aren't there drag kings? I want to know. I think we should do something about that and find ourselves some drag kings. By the way, Rafe, really good to talk to you. See you very soon. That's Rafe Heidelman-Koo. What's going on here? Seriously, this guy, Ricky Gervais, good guy, trying to raise money for animals, particularly donkeys, donkey sanctuaries. Donkeys have such a hard life around the world by selling this vodka, and he can't get any of his posters up on TfL, you know, because they're a bit near the knuckle. They encourage drinking. You know, of course they do. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. Well, first off, Robert Jobson's got another one of his blockbuster books out, old friend of mine, now churning out bestsellers like there's no tomorrow. His latest one's called The Windsor Legacy. There's a copy of the cover if you're watching the show. In this book, I mean, there's all sorts of amazing stories, but my favourite story that I'd like to discuss with you is that the Queen, Harry and Meghan always made it clear that when they decided to call their new baby daughter Lilibet, you know, that they'd contacted the Buckingham Palace, they'd discussed this, and it was all, cleared and given the green light by the Queen and everything. Well, according to Robert Jobson's book, the truth is she knew nothing about it and actually found out about it when she was reading her morning newspapers. And she found out that the kid was called Lilibet, the little girl was called Lilibet, and was furious because that was her childhood nickname. And I remember reading before that she was very upset about it because she actually said to friends, look, you know, they think I'm the Queen, you know, and I own all these palaces and all this art, and I'm fat. But in fact, you know, I haven't got very much because most of it is tied up with state ownership. She says, so I don't have much. I don't own these palaces. I don't own all these valuable works of art. I don't have very much. She said, all I've got is my memories. She said, all I've got is, you know, my childhood nickname. And now they've taken that. They've taken that. And apparently, according to Robert Jobson's book, when she read this in the paper, now a mild-mannered woman, by the way, she stood up in a fury and chucked her newspaper down on the ground in a fit of temper. She was so angry. But what this really does is cast doubt on the Sussexes' claim that they'd cleared this name with the palace with Her Majesty the Queen. That is a story that I think we have to question now, don't we?
Well, I started to question it when they threatened to sue the BBC, who immediately, although I know the BBC's not having the best day, but I will say that
they got this one right, didn't they? Yeah.
Right. I will say that the BBC reported at the time that they had not received the Queen's permission to name their daughter Lilibet, and this conversation had not happened prior to the announcement and birth of this child being born. Harry and Meghan swoop in, immediately threatening legal action to the BBC, and the BBC responds by saying, we're not going to change our story. We're so confident in our version of events that bring on a lawsuit. Go ahead. And you know what? Harry and Meghan never spoke about it again. This entire saga just quietly fades into the distance, along with every bridge Meghan Markle's ever burned, with Trevor Ingleson and all, Meghan just tries to pretend like it never happened, this, challenging the BBC.
That's an extraordinary story. That's an extraordinary story, Kinsey. You're quite right that the BBC, to its credit, said, look, we are totally happy with this story, that the Queen did not know that Harry and Meghan were going to name their daughter after her childhood nickname, Lilibet. She didn't know. She was actually furious when she found out. But when the BBC reported that, Harry and Meghan fired off one of their famous traditional legal letters saying, you better put that right. I mean, what on earth do they think they're doing? If that clearly was not the case, you can't stop. Well, you shouldn't start threatening to sue journalistic organisations for stories you know to be true. They shouldn't have done that, should they?
They should not have done it, but classic Harry and Meghan, it's their truth that matters, not the truth that matters. And I believe it's in Robert Hardman's book about the king, where he suggests that Harry likely said something to the Queen along the lines of, we'd like to name our daughter after you, period. Not, we're going to take this sacred nickname that, only the closest of the close was allowed to call you throughout your lifetime. And I also think that we have learned a lot over the last few months about the truth behind Harry and Meghan's relationship with Queen Elizabeth, thanks to Sally Bedell-Smith and Lady Elizabeth Anson and some of the other stories we've heard.
And I think Robert's new book as well, I think, has cast
and that's
a lot of light on it.
Robert's new book goes, Harry sat down with Hoda Kotb and said, and shocked courtiers when he said that he had a great relationship with his grandmother, but was just concerned about wanting to keep the right people around her. I mean, the courtiers at the time were like, excuse me. I mean, I think it was probably interpreted that King Charles and Prince William might not have the best influence on the Queen at the time. But the reality is, I think Harry was talking about everybody. He was just trying to make the public think that he had the Queen's best interest at heart, and he was closer to the Queen than he truly was. And we learn in this book, thanks to Robert Jobson, that the Queen was so disappointed when Harry and Meghan came out to the UK and brought Lilibet, because she was expecting to have tea with them and they don't show up. And she's had a cake made specifically for Lily's birthday. And what I haven't seen in Jabo's lead up, I don't know if he tells this part of the story, but what I know to be true, I guess I should say allegedly, is that Meghan and Harry had brought a professional photographer. And what we actually learned later from Vogue, and what we learned later on thanks to the Netflix series, is they had Netflix cameras and microphones attached to them throughout this trip as well. But it's my understanding that they had requested to meet the Queen with this professional photographer because they wanted their children's pictures to be taken with the Queen with this Vogue photographer. And the Queen's team said absolutely not. And remember, it's Hugo Vickers who says the Queen always wanted to have somebody in the room with her to protect her if Harry and Meghan were on the way.
It's extraordinary.
And so I'm wondering if they were so irate over the Queen's refusal to have Vogue professional photos taken of her with the children, that they stood her up for tea and left her sitting there with that cake for Lilibet. And if so, just how disgusting are these two? I mean, it's like every day they surprise me at how low they are willing to go.
Yeah.
But
what Harry tries to do, isn't it? Harry has tried to depict this incredible special relationship that he had with the late Queen Elizabeth, the late great Queen, that somehow she was his favourite and they were really close. I don't think that was the case. And I think this naming of their daughter, Lilibet, was an attempt to sort of underline the special relationship. Oh, how touched Her Majesty was that they chose to use her childhood nickname for their own child. She wasn't touched. She was furious. She was really, really angry. I mean, I think that you can imagine that, can't you? This is a woman who's her entire life is devoted to her role as the monarch of this country. Most of her possessions aren't really her possessions. The only thing that are really, really hers are her memories, her personal life. And her memory, her personal, of her happy childhood was that she was called Lilibet, and they just nicked it, that name, and they didn't ask her. She wasn't touched by that. It didn't signify a special relationship between her and Harry. Whatever relationship there was between her and Harry, I think got significantly worse the moment she found out they'd stolen her name.
Well, there's a couple of points I'd like to make. I mean, naming your child Lilibet, that was Harry and Meghan's way of trying to cement their proximity to the British royal family, whether they lose their titles or not. That their child is named after Queen Elizabeth. This is the same as Meghan being Meghan Sussex now. You know, this is just them saying, look, we're related to the royal family. No, whether I'm
Meghan Sussex now.
Yeah, and then also I was thinking about, while you were talking about that, thinking about the fact that Queen Elizabeth is staring at a Warhol that is her face, and she doesn't even own that painting. It's her face, and you know that belongs to the Crown Estate, like that belongs to somebody else. But she's looking at a picture of herself. It doesn't even belong to her. You're right. This was the only thing that belonged to her, and you know, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, they're going to continue to try. I think what frustrated the Queen was not just the theft of her name, but the fact that their actions contradicted whatever they're trying to say, that this was like some thoughtful gesture that they named their child after her. You have to imagine that she's recognizing at the same time that they're doing this, Harry's giving interviews talking about how the future king, Prince Charles and Prince William, are basically prisoners to this institution. That's what he tells Oprah Winfrey, that they're stuck. He's trying to take down the institution at the same time that he's naming his child after the Queen. Prince Philip just died. And a month before Philip died, they're sitting on a couch with Oprah Winfrey. The Queen is frustrated because she sees that their actions completely contradict what not only are they saying to Hoda Kotb and everyone else, but the idea that they've done this to be sweet. No, you've taken something from me, and you've done it with an ulterior motive. Yeah,
to cash in.
Yeah.
It augments their royal connection, therefore they can make money out of it. Robert's book, Robert Jobson's book, The Windsor Legacy, also contains, forensic detail about what was happening in the run-up to Harry and Meghan Mexiting, heading off to Canada and then America, and the rest is history. As they were planning that, Harry, who came up with this compromise, what we're going to do is we're going to go and live in the California sunshine, but I'll come back a couple of times a month, I'll do a few royal engagements,
No thanks.
Still be, and he had no doubt in his mind that the Queen would say, oh, that sounds like a very good compromise, a very good solution, yes. But of course, Her Majesty, very nice lady, but when she made up her mind, she was the monarch, and she was having none of that. And apparently Harry was absolutely stunned when she said, no, absolutely not. You are either in or you are out. You go to America, it's all over in terms of the royal family. You are no longer a working royal. Harry could barely believe that he'd been knocked back like that.
Yeah, but keep in mind, they knew things we didn't at the time. Prince William is likely sitting in that Sandringham summit saying to the Queen and Prince Charles, I have a list of bully allegations. I've lost a significant amount of my staff since she's come on board. She treats people horribly. You really want to unleash her on the world with this royal connection? She's going to be representing us and scolding people on the escalator of a Neiman Marcus. Like, I'm sure that Prince William was in his right mind saying, she can't be out in the world representing our family. But also keep in mind that they had gone so deep in their scheming while they were in Canada over the holiday break. They built a website, sussexroyal.com, where they outlined what the plans were going to be without confirming with the royal family whether or not these plans were even possible. They were only going to work with grassroots, young media companies, young media personalities. They weren't going to work with any legacy media or the Royal Rota anymore. LOL. Yeah. People Magazine says hello. Us Weekly says they missed a call from you. Be sure to call them back as quickly as possible. Yeah. You know, in several of these other basically promises that they've failed to execute over the last 5 years. And so why would the royal family say, yes, you have permission to do all of this, when they've seen that Harry and Meghan had absolutely no respect for the monarchy or protocol in general?
But you're right, Kinsey. That's the way they operate, isn't it? They formulate plans in their mind, plans that they probably know might be controversial, might not be accepted, but they announce them as if it's going to happen. And then they get stunned when it doesn't happen. Well, listen, I'm going to play a little bit of a video of Meghan here. This is Meghan celebrating the LA Dodgers World Series win, apparently, alongside an unimpressed Prince Harry. But people are saying this is kind of weird. Have a look. So that's the LA. They went to the LA Dodgers, didn't they, last week? And they were all filmed, and they got booed because they took the front seat ahead of Magic Johnson, the part owner, who's a LA Lakers basketball legend, a Los Angeles legend. So people saying, why are they in the front row? Why isn't Magic there? But they were in the front row, $1,000 seats. They posted a load of video, and the LA Dodgers lost against the Toronto Blue Jays, so people booing them for being in the front row, and then booing them because they thought they were bad luck charms, that they'd brought defeat to the LA Dodgers. But anyway, that video, weird as hell, is Meghan celebrating the LA Dodgers winning in the World Series. A bit strange, isn't it?
I mean, why does she feel? I mean, just tell us you want to be Kim Kardashian without telling us you want to be Kim Kardashian, okay? Like, Harry didn't sign up for this. Harry does not like to be on camera. You can tell in that moment. There have been some people that have said, like, well, he's a Blue Jays fan. Well, then that coward shouldn't have been wearing an LA Dodgers hat a week ago, okay? You know, he didn't sign up to be monitored 24/7 and then uploaded by his wife. And I think that this is literally his hell. Also, Meghan Markle's never claimed to be a baseball fan. I mean, she was a hockey fan when we found out she was chasing after some of those guys while getting married to Trevor Ingleson, allegedly. Yeah. But, you know, I just hate people that jump on bandwagons. Like, all of a sudden they care about the Super Bowl because it's in their city, or they care about the Super Bowl because the local team goes, and you're like, girl, you couldn't even tell me what a quarterback is. And I feel like this is just Meghan Markle trying to jump on board of again, another trend. Tina Brown said, when it comes to charities, Meghan Markle only cares about it if it's trendy. And I think that's just Meghan Markle in general. She is so basic.
Yeah, but so that video there of her shrieking away, so it's in black and white. What strikes me about that, if that was me, you know, I mean, not that I would be Meghan, but if I looked at myself, you know, go, you know, I would go, well, I'm not putting that out. You know,
this is the same. This is the same.
Why would she post something like that?
Because this is the same woman willing to twerk to a song about I'm a baby mama and I'll do what I wanna. Don't forget 2025, the year we saw Meghan Markle drop it low, and I mean it probably gave us a little idea of how she lured Prince Harry in some of those positions that we caught her in during the baby mama video dance, but. I just think she is shameless. She has no class, and she continues to prove that. She is desperate for attention. No attention is the worst attention. She'll even take the negative attention. And she has realized that she's made herself look like an absolute idiot in 2025. Podcast host versus reality TV host versus jam salesperson. What else has she executed this year? What else, versus motivational speaker at the Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit. I mean, what is she? I'm having a hard time defining her after 2025 because she just looks schizophrenic.
Yeah, she does. She's just a sort of whirling dervish, lashing out in all directions and no central direction at all. God knows what she's up to, but that, underpinning it always is her new desire to be on Instagram about every 20 minutes, allegedly in order to sell stuff on As Ever, her weird online store that's now selling candles for $64 and wine, a new brut vintage wine from Napa Valley at $89 a bottle. So good luck selling that stuff. But what we do learn, you and I talked about this before, is she's launched this thing called Operation Thaw, T-H-A-W, in order to try to thaw the icy relationship between the Sussexes and William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales. Of course, we know about this ongoing brotherly feud. William and Catherine in no mood ever to forgive that couple for all the things they've done since they've been in America. Anyway, what we learn is that Meghan, though, is trying to bury the hatchet, trying to be friends with them again. Guess why? Because she's spotted that the royal family are in the mood for removing titles from princes who are a waste of space. I'm going to cut Harry some slack here. He's not quite Britain's worst prince. He's not quite the royal family's worst prince.
Give him time.
He's the second worst prince. The way he's behaved, it's now pretty accepted that William is in such a mood that when he ascends to the throne, let's hope, by the way, nothing against William, but let's hope that's not anytime soon, but when he does become king, that he will take away the Sussexes' titles. He may even do that before. So Meghan, really worried that she may stop being able to call herself the Duchess of Sussex, and Harry, he'll have to go back to Harry Mountbatten Windsor or whatever damn second name he chooses as well.
Harry Spencer. Harry Spencer.
Harry Spencer, yes, indeed. Harry Hewitt. Oh, hush my mouth. Seriously, though, you know,
well,
this is what's going on. The Meghan and Harry.
But what a terrible idea to, launch Project Thaw and put it out there, because the only reason we know about this, Kevin, is because their team had to leak it. Somebody on their side had to tell us what was going on, that Meghan had every intention of trying to reconnect with the Princess of Wales, Catherine. And you know what is hitting the fan in the UK? Last week, we were together as everything was hitting the fan.
Damn right.
And there's Harry and Meghan front row at a Dodgers game. There's Meghan Markle uploading videos of her cheering on the Dodgers and doing cartwheels in a living room. You know as well as I do that if they were trying to impress the royal family, or if they were trying to worm their way in truly to the royal family, they would be laying low while all this Prince Andrew chaos is exploding, because it doesn't reflect well that they are out playing while the royal family is navigating a very serious historical issue. There's Prince Harry and Meghan Markle singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," shoving a footlong down their throats. It just doesn't, you just can't compare the two. It's like if the royals are facing such a hard time, go away, disappear.
Let me just explain to the British audience that a foot long shoving it down, that's a great big long hot dog called a Dodger dog, isn't it? Yeah, they're very long. Now, listen, one last point, Kinsey. The Prince of Wales, or William, is in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro.
Another point. This is along with Project Thought. Yes, continue. This contradicts Project
So
Thought.
he's in Rio de Janeiro doing a big Earthshot function, continuing his very important ecological work, his climate change work. I'm going to reserve my usual judgment on that. We'll allow him. It's his passion, so he's down there doing that. So good luck to him. And what does Harry do? He takes the opportunity to try and overshadow his brother by announcing he's off on his own trip to Toronto. What's he going to be doing in Toronto?
This is for Remembrance Day, and it reeks of 2020 when Harry finds out that his family is going to no longer leave a wreath in his honor. They've said, no, you're no longer here and you're no longer a working member of the royal family, so we will not place a wreath for you on Remembrance Day. So Harry and Meghan, along with a photographer, go to a military cemetery here in the States, and they have the photographer take pictures of Harry just walking around the cemetery holding hands with Meghan Markle. I mean, the way he tries to insert himself instead of letting go and finding a new path. So when I read this story, I think I sent it to you because this contradicts the Project Thaw story that these two are doing everything in their capacity to get back in the good graces of William and Catherine. William lands in Rio for Earthshot. And I told you last week, I felt like one of the reasons why they came down so hard on Prince Andrew when they did in like this emergency, this blitz, was because I felt like the royal family is like, we need to focus our attention back to the good we're trying to do. And that would be the Earthshot Prize this week. And for Harry to announce it today, could he not wait 24 hours to announce that he was on his way to Canada? Especially when we heard a few weeks ago that he was being so generous in sharing his calendar with the royal family to try to, so that there could be some sort of synchronicity when it came to dueling events. Obviously, this is all bogus. This is all positive spin coming from his team, and actions speak louder than words.
Now, this is the story of Shane March, arguably a man who should never have been on the streets. In the year 2000, he got life for stabbing a poor little 17-year-old kid in the neck and killing him. He got life. 13 years later, they let him out. Life, 13 years. Am I missing something here? They let him out. Last year, he murdered his pregnant girlfriend, a lady called Alana Odysseus. She's from Suffolk, 32 years old, pregnant with his child. He stabbed her 19 times in a frenzied attack. At first, he claimed that this assault was manslaughter due to diminished responsibility. But halfway through the trial, it was pointed out to him that this claim was ridiculous. So he conceded that it was murder. At the Old Bailey, he was sentenced to life, and his second life sentence of his life. In itself, that's absurd, isn't it? With a minimum of 42 years. But here's the point. He refused to be there for his sentencing. Generously, in the end, he agreed to tune in by video link. But he refused to actually be there. Now, last year when Lucy Letby, the nurse killer, the angel of death, was sentenced for killing those babies, she got a whole life term, of course, never to be released. She refused to be in the dock at that point. So did that little fiend, the Southport dance hall killer, Axel Rudakapana. He refused to be in the dock. Now, a lot of people go, oh, come on, he's got life, he'll never get out. What the hell does it matter? Well, it does matter. I think the public want this nation, our legal system, to frankly, excuse my French, show some balls and say to these defendants, oh, you don't want to be there for sentencing. We'll see about that. You're going to be there because you have been found guilty of a serious crime and you're going to face the music. Now, Shabana Mahmood, when she was Home Justice Secretary, earlier this year. She said, well, I'm going to do something about this. I am going to now say that defendants should be put in the dock to face sentencing and be brought there with reasonable force if necessary. Well, this guy, Shane March, just like the old days, just refused, and his refusal was accepted. OK, he said that he'd tune in by video, but, you know, does that necessarily count? Do we know he did it? The point is, I think the state, I think the public demand that these people should face their sentencing. The state should have the backbone to make them face their sentencing. And most importantly, the relatives of the victims who carefully prepare their emotional statements and read them out in court should have the satisfaction of knowing that the person who killed their loved one is listening to what they have to say. Instead, if they're not there, that whole process, the victim's statements, kind of loses all its point. When are we going to make them appear in the dock for their sentencing, Stephen?
When we grow up. So we have become performatively weak as a nation, and I despaired. I'm glad you flagged that it was Lucy Letby. I couldn't actually remember which of the monsters who refused to go to their sentencing it was that all of the, a large number of highly political lawyers immediately went on television and radio saying that we didn't have the power to force them, which is not true. Shabana Mahmood embraces that lie and then promised to give the power to force them. She hasn't done anything because she's from this Labour government who just say words and don't do anything. But actually, they had the power all along. And what's happened here is Mr. Justice Murray has behaved in quite a weak way. Now, we should give him the benefit of the doubt. We should assume His Majesty's judges are quite tough. With Axel Rudiger-Barnum, we actually got Mr. Justice Goose, who's one of my favourite High Court judges. I never thought I'd have a favourite, particularly criminal High Court judge. Because
he's my second favourite.
Well, but he forced Axel into the box, and then Axel just went crazy and kicked off and screamed. So eventually he was just like, just get rid of him. I need to proceed. What it seems to have happened here with Mr. Justice Murray is that he's waited half a day to see if he can negotiate with the evil man. We've got to stop trying to negotiate with evil people. It's a fundamental weakness in our country. We still think we can compromise and negotiate with everybody, and you can't. There are a certain group of humans who are so evil that you cannot negotiate with them. There will be no negotiated outcome, so you must use state force. And at the moment, our country looks weak and pathetic because people won't grow up and admit that. Ignore Shabana Mahmood. Of course, she's done absolutely nothing. She'll do absolutely nothing about the migrant votes. Doing absolutely nothing is what these people do.
Speciality.
But we must encourage our judges to be more Goose, be more like Mr. Justice Goose, and have some welly and order him there. And don't listen to lefty KCs and lefty lords. I could actually name some if I wanted to be. They were performatively pathetic on television. But I've heard the strength.
I've heard people from the legal profession, you know, some of your colleagues, barristers, say, oh, well, this really doesn't matter. It's really not important. The question is the sentence, and they get on with it, you know, and it's uncivilised to force them into the dock. I don't really care that it's uncivilised because, you know, stabbing your pregnant girlfriend 19 times, dare I say it, is also slightly uncivilised. So I think that, you know, that these people, particularly when you have the relatives of the victims waiting to read their statements, obviously often the most emotional moment in a trial, the perpetrator of the crime should be there to hear them, should have to face it. If you like, the beginning of their punishment, this terrible moment where the victim's relatives round on them, serves them damn well right, and force them into the dock to take their sentence. That's to do with the backbone of the state. That's to do with the pride of the state, if you ask me. Am I right?
Yes, you are. And this is why we've always had the criminal law as the king's law. It really does go to the very heart of the nation. And it's not the rise of victims. Whilst I understand the idea of victim and I have sympathy towards victims, the idea of our criminal law is actually that all of us are the victim because the king's peace must be maintained. Order and law must be maintained in our nation. We all have the right to be safe. So this vicious, monstrous man who stabbed to death an innocent woman and a baby is a criminal against us all. The victims do not stand alone. We stand with them, and we share part of their pain, because this is a wrong committed in our country, and we must show that we are muscular and powerful. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm old enough to remember the Silence of the Lambs. There was a mask in that Sir Anthony Hopkins wore. That kept peace. We can use force against people. It's not uncivilized. It is civilization itself. Rome knew civilization is force.
Absolutely. And what we do when we force them into the dock, we tell them, because this is their little moment of control, isn't it? I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm not going to go into the day. You want your little theatre, the victims reading their statements. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be there when the judge says you've got life. It gives them a moment of control. And I think what we, the state, have to say to them is, listen, you're not in control. We are. The state is. And you are going to do what you're told right now. And that's what I think we should do. Shabana Mahmood, now, well, it's not Holmes, it's David Lammy's job now. I think he should do something about this.
They won't, and just ignore the government and the ministers. Just encourage the judges to be more tough. If Mr. Justice Murray was sat there worrying that he'd get public criticism for forcing him into the dock, then we need to make it very clear to Mr. Justice Murray in some way that we will not criticise him if he forces this guy into the dock. We need to keep praising Mr. Justice Goose so that the rest of them want to be more like Mr. Justice Goose. Yep. We want tough judges. We want our laws to be clear, fair, and applied equally amongst all of us, and applied without fear or favour, but we want them applied, because that is the rule of law. And these little narcissists who refuse to do as they're told are more of a danger. They are mob ruled. They are resisting the power of the state. We want a state that is away from our lives most of the time, but when you break the law, the state should come down on you like a ton of bricks. When you murder an innocent woman who's carrying a baby, I want the book thrown at you. I think all of us do. And I don't want weak judges worrying about whether or not they're going to get nice press headlines. I want them all to know and have the confidence that, like Mr. Justice Goose did, if you do it, we will just praise you. That's what we will do.
Exactly right. Any judge that forces someone like Shane March into the dock to face the music won't get bad press, I can assure you of that. Now, on Thursday night, Aston Villa, the Birmingham Football Club, are playing Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Europa League Cup. Now, you will remember a couple of weeks ago, controversially, Israeli fans were banned from attending that match on the basis that West Midlands police said Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tend to attract trouble. Often they're attacked by pro-Palestinian supporters, and West Midlands police said they weren't sure that they could guarantee people's safety. A lot of people said, well, hang on, you should be guaranteeing people's safety. There isn't this some kind of Jews are banned initiative that we ought to sort of rail against and make sure these fans can come. But, they're not going to come. The club itself, Maccabi Tel Aviv, sort of agreed and didn't sell any tickets to their fans. So that match will go ahead. But it is planned to coincide with a huge pro-Palestinian march that is planned to bring Birmingham, Britain's second city, to a standstill. They're talking about maybe 300,000 people coming to this march, 700 police ready to monitor it, to be there. So quite a big event. Well, one of the organisers, well, first of all, well, let's bring in one of the organisers. He's lawyer Ahmed Yaqub. Welcome to the show, Ahmed.
Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. Now, before we talk, I'm going to play the TikTok video that you posted the other day.
The goal is for Maccabi Tel Aviv and all of Israeli teams to be banned from FIFA, for FIFA not to have double standards like South Africa have banned some time ago for their occupation, like Russia have been banned recently. Israel should also be banned by FIFA. There are groups that are supporting these bans, like Give Israel the Red Card. I was at a meeting yesterday in Aston, and the sentiment of the locals in Aston is that they don't want this Israeli Israeli team anywhere near them because of the fact that Israel are committing a genocide and they are illegally occupying land that belongs to the Palestinians. That is the sentiment of the people of Aston and the people of Birmingham. We want this game to be banned.
Well, Ahmed, the game isn't banned. Of course, the Israeli fans are banned from attending. So would you not accept that if the Israeli fans have been banned, the away fans, if you like, isn't that sort of mission accomplished? You know, the local MP, Ayub Khan, for Perry Barr, he got up this petition with Jeremy Corbyn to what they said was to try to prevent the potential for football violence, and it has succeeded. You know, the fans will not be allowed at this match. Isn't that enough? Why do you need this huge march at the same time as the match when Israeli fans are banned from it?
Well, thank God that the fans are not coming, and that's because of the advice that was received from Dutch police by the West Midlands police, and that was purely because of the way the fans behave and the safety of the local residents.
Well, you say, Ahmed, you say the way the fans. You say, just sorry to interrupt. You say the way the fans behave, as if the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans are the ones who always cause the trouble. There's a lot of evidence for the trouble that unfolded in Amsterdam that they were actually set upon by pro-Palestinian protesters. So they didn't start it, they just defended themselves.
Well, they were chanting chants like "Ole, ole, there are no schools in Gaza because all the children have been killed and we will rape your women," and all sorts. They were chanting these chants. So, of course, that's not safe to go around the streets of Birmingham, and especially in Aston. We don't want to hear stuff like that.
And at your march, will you ban
women and
okay, but at your march,
we don't want to hear that.
Okay, well, I would accept that, but similarly, in the same vein, at your march, will you ban, you know, chanting from the river to the sea, or the jihad chants? Will you ban all of that?
What jihad chants are you referring to?
Well, I'm chanting from the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
When will Palestine be free?
When will Palestine be free?
Yeah, but you will ban that chant, yes?
I mean, that's not for me to say. I'm not one of the.
Well, no, but you just said that you're against.
I'm not one of the organisers.
Well, but do you think that? Do you, as somebody, you know, being on TikTok promoting it, this big march? So would you personally,
Kevin,
approve of banning from the river to the sea?
If there's over 300,000 people who are attending the march, I'm sure the organisers can't control every single thing that comes out.
But you personally would be against. You personally, though, would be against the chanting of "from the river to the sea" when.
I mean, I would be against any chanting of any terrorist slogans. That's why, of course, I don't want the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans here, who of course shout all these terrorist slogans and all these remarks. And I'm sure you've seen a video, Kevin, recently of IDF soldiers raping Palestinians. And it's all videoed, and that was exposed by an IDF lawyer.
I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of videos of the way Hamas are behaving. I've seen a lot of videos about that. So if you're going to throw bandy around videos, damning videos, there's a lot of damning videos of the Palestinians, of the Hamas, the way they've been behaving.
Are we talking about the IDF here? Because my argument.
I'm talking about Hamas.
My argument is this: that Israel should be banned from.
Why? Why should it be? Why should it be banned?
Why? Because of the apartheid regime.
Yeah, but that's just your opinion. They haven't actually broken any laws. Israel have not broken any international laws.
FIFA shouldn't have double standards.
Yeah, but wait a second. Ahmed. Israel has not broken any international laws. It is not a legal fact.
Oh, are you a lawyer? Are you?
Yeah. It is not illegal. You, as a lawyer, you will know that the requirement for genocide has not been reached. Israel has not committed genocide. That's just your opinion.
No, that's not only my opinion.
It's not a legal fact. Ahmed, you know that. You're a lawyer.
That's the opinion of the International Criminal Court, who actually said there's plausible evidence of genocide.
Yeah, but they haven't said that. Yes, but it is not a legal
fact. It's not my opinion, Kevin.
No.
It's the court's opinion.
Listen,
court's opinion.
Genocide in legal terms has not been established in Gaza.
There's plausible evidence.
Yeah, but that isn't the same as legally establishing that genocide is or has happened. So therefore, when you throw around the term genocide, you actually don't have the right to do it, because Israel is not legally guilty of genocide in Gaza.
Well, they are occupied.
Well, no, but that's your opinion.
And the Maccabi Tel Aviv.
So you can't go around saying Israel must be banned from football tournaments when it hasn't broken any international laws. It is not guilty at this point of any war crime. So why are you saying Israel must be banned from international sport? Because you don't like it, isn't it? You just don't like it.
You should be ashamed of yourself as an Irish to ask me that question. For someone who grew up in Ireland. Trust me.
Well, I didn't grow up in Ireland, as you might be able to tell from my accent, but I like your line.
20,000 people have died, and you are saying that Israel haven't broken any.
Well, they haven't. They haven't.
Be ashamed of yourself, Kevin.
But they haven't, Ahmed. They haven't broken any laws. So how can FIFA ban them? You can't ban them on a feeling.
Netanyahu himself condemned the video of this Israeli soldiers raping.
Well, I'm not saying, of course.
And you're sitting here and you're saying they haven't done anything wrong. Kevin, come on.
Well, listen.
Don't be so blind.
Listen, Ahmed.
Don't be so blind.
By the way, I do.
Be on the right side of history, like the Irish, like the proper Irish. Come on.
Listen, Ahmed, I do appreciate you coming on. Can you bear with me one second? One second. Let me play the local MP, Perry Barr MP. That is the constituency that encompasses Aston Villa. This is Ayub Khan, the MP for Perry Barr, celebrating the ban on the Israeli fans.
Well, excellent news for the people of Birmingham and, most importantly, the residents here in Aston. I launched a petition to oppose the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming to Birmingham and then into the Aston Villa Stadium. The surrounding ward of Aston is a ward that sits within my constituency. And I had many residents and businesses express concern of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming into our area. Clearly, we have all witnessed the scenes in Amsterdam, the violence that was displayed by the fans the night before the match. We all watched and listened to those vile chants of hatred and racism. And so there's no space for that kind of behaviour here in Birmingham. There's certainly no space for that kind of conduct in Aston. So I'm very pleased that both the West Midlands Police and Aston Villa Football Club have now written to UEFA informing them of their decision not to allow any fans from entering Birmingham and Aston.
OK, Ahmed, that's the local MP, Ayub Khan. When he says this is great news for the people of Birmingham, great news for this area, what about Jewish people who live in Birmingham? Do you think it's great news for them? It's not, is it? It's not. Oh, it's great news for Jewish people that Israelis have been banned from attending a football match. I don't think it is good news for if you're Jewish. Do you?
Look, you brought me on. Let me answer the question.
All right, go on.
Yeah. I actually emailed Samara saying, don't mute me and let me answer the question.
I'm not muting you.
Okay, that's good. So let me answer the question.
Okay, I'm going to.
In the answer to your question now about the Jews, if you've seen my TikTok, you showed me videos of it, you would have seen a video that I posted last week where Rabbi Beck was there, a few other rabbis from the Jewish community, scholars. They came and specifically said that they are happy that the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans are not coming because of their behavior in Amsterdam. So this ban has nothing to do with being Jewish. It was
a lot of people say, Ahmed, they didn't. A lot of people say they didn't start the fight in Amsterdam. But you've got a point. I mean, because of the controversial nature of Israeli football fans and Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, you're right. They do tend to attract trouble. So I can understand why there were concerns. However, However, this isn't this an issue of freedom? Shouldn't the Israeli fans have the freedom to attend a football match and watch their team play? Well, why are you in favour of banning this basic human right to go and watch your football team play?
Okay, look, it's a matter of safety. West Midlands
Is that
police,
really? It's just safety.
You're not letting
it's
me
just
talk.
safety, not anti-Semitism. Then.
West Midlands police are the ones who imposed this ban in 2023.
Well, they were advised by the.
Fans were banned from
a lot of us think they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have done it. A lot of us think they shouldn't have done that.
Anti-Polish or anti-Christian? No.
Yeah.
It was simply hooligan fans who were banned in 2023. Celtic fans were banned from going to away games for so long because of what they were doing. They were doing hooliganism. So
yeah, but you're not just objecting to the fact that the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tend to attract violence. The potential for violence at this match. You're objecting to the fact they're from Israel, aren't you?
I'm objecting to the team playing. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm objecting to the team playing because there shouldn't be double standards in football. If Russia can be banned for their
don't you think
Ukraine, if South Africa were banned for their colonization and apartheid regime, then Israel should be banned.
But your claims about South Africa had a patent and obvious apartheid system, a racist system of dividing whites and blacks. Israel has nothing of the sort.
Okay, there's nothing of the sort. You must be deluded, Kevin, because Palestinians are treated like worthless people in.
But you're a disdain for Israel. A lot of people, Ahmed, have a lot of.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I know. What about Hamas? What about Hamas? They're a bunch of thugs. They're terrorist thugs, aren't they? So, wouldn't Jewish people object to your viewpoint because they object to Hamas? You seem to be supporting Hamas.
I do not support any proscribed organization, Kevin.
So you don't.
I've never said that I support any proscribed organization.
So you do not support Hamas.
And this is not about Hamas. This is about Maccabi Tel Aviv, about them not being allowed to be in this competition. They shouldn't be in this competition. Israel is not even in Europe. So what are they doing in a European Cup? First of all,
that's a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest.
Why are Israel in the European Cup and not a Middle Eastern Cup?
Actually, no, I'd never thought about that. That's an interesting point.
Kevin, do some research.
No, that's an interesting point. It's like the Eurovision Song Contest. Why is Israel in that as well? Why is Australia in it? But that's a different issue. When Ayub Khan, celebrating this ban, says, we don't want these people in our area, what's he talking about? Is that he doesn't want Jewish people in a Muslim area? Is that what he means? What people are worried about here, Ahmed, is what they fear looks like, to many of us, like the Islamification of Birmingham, that this predominantly Islamic city, particularly around Perry Bar, Handsworth, places like that, is a no-go area for Jews. That what we're going to see on Thursday is a huge pro-Palestinian march, which is really a demonstration of Jew hatred.
One thing you will see is proper Orthodox Jews
marching with you?
At the march.
Oh, yeah?
The march.
Really?
Marching with us.
Okay.
Like they did last week.
Well, that's interesting.
They came and made a video outside Villa Park. Like they came and...
So you're saying Orthodox Jews are going to Orthodox Jews are going to join you on this pro-Palestinian march to celebrate the fact that Jews or Israeli fans are banned from this match. Orthodox Jews are going to join you on this march.
Yes, they will be there. And you can see, I'm sure you'll see
Well,
clips.
I look forward to seeing evidence of that.
Haven't you seen clips with me, my clips with Jews outside the Villa ground? Don't say you haven't, because you have, Kevin.
Let me. Can I just play you another clip? This is from a meeting. I've got another clip to play you. Just watch this and let's discuss it. This is you.
People who can stay there, doesn't matter what they face. That's what my concern is, sisters. And if there are people there that will run away, we don't want them there. We have to face these people head on. I don't mean fight them, but I mean stay there. grounded. And there's a lot of people in this room that will go. I know they will. Or they will go to the police.
Thank you, friend.
Do you get it? So we need to know who's going to be leading these rallies.
That will be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good speech there, Ahmed. What did you actually mean by that? That you don't want
exactly what I said. Exactly what I said.
Yeah.
The people leading the protest should be people who are going to be head on with these hooligans, these far rights, these racists, all of these people with fascist ideologies, Zionists, whoever it is. Someone who needs to lead it needs to be strong, and someone who won't be scared. I specifically said it. We don't want fighting, but we don't want people to run away. We need to stand our ground.
Okay, so that could cause a confrontation, but
Why?
Well, it
Why?
could, couldn't it? It could.
Why could it? Why?
Well, all right, let's hope that it doesn't. And I accept you've made it very clear, Ahmed, that you want this to be a peaceful protest. But can you, and I commend you for that, obviously, but can you tell us 100% that there isn't an element of Jew hatred in this march that's going to happen on Thursday?
I can say 1,000,000%, and I can show you this.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Have a look at that.
Well, I can't quite see what it says. What is it?
No, of course you can see it.
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's
outside the Villa.
These are the rabbis protesting against Israeli fans being able to attend a football match at Aston Villa. Yeah.
Yes, that's them. Look.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'd like to know what they're.
My very good.
That seems very strange. It seems very strange.
The elections.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people look at this march that you say could bring Birmingham to a standstill, that a lot of people in this march may well be anti-Semitic. I mean, basically, Ayub Khan, the MP there, stands accused of anti-Semitism. Jeremy Corbyn, who also helped to get this petition together for the first time in his long career, taking an interest in football hooliganism. They all stand accused of anti-Semitism. This does seem to be anti-Israel.
Accused. Everybody is throwing that word around now, and any criticism of Israel is automatically labelled as anti-Semitism. And I've seen this for the last couple of years now, and there's a rise in it now.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
there's a rise in people being labelled anti-Semitism.
Well, explain to me why.
As Muslims, we can't be anti-Semitic. Did you know that? Because
well, no offense, not you, but a lot of your Muslim friends, I think.
Our prophet was a Semitic.
So you're telling me that Muslims cannot be anti-Semitic? That it's part of your sacred creed?
Muslims cannot be against any religion. We are taught to coexist with peace and harmony with every religion.
Well, it's not really working out, is it? Particularly, shall we say, in Gaza.
Why not?
Well, the Muslims who invaded Israel on October the 7th a couple of years ago, were they sticking to your creed of you must live in harmony, you must not be anti-Israel? Well, how do they fit into what you're telling me about Muslims?
What about the children?
No, tell me that. Those Hamas thugs who massacred.
What about the 1948?
Okay, yeah, but never mind what about it. You just told me that it's sacred.
Now then, you want to talk about history?
No, I want to talk about October the 7th. I want to talk about October. Are you going to answer my question? You can't answer my question. You just told me that it's sacred to Muslims that they cannot be anti-Semitic. What would you describe those Hamas Muslims who invaded?
What would you describe as 1948?
Well, no. Why are you going to answer my question? Are you going to answer my question?
Those people,
well, they're not exactly being
those people from their homes.
Well, the peace and harmony that you talk about wasn't exactly in evidence, was it? On October the 7th.
1948, there was no evidence of people being displaced from their homes.
Do you want to go back further? 1848, 1748?
There's no evidence of that.
Yeah, so do you defend October the 7th then?
So are you telling me there's no evidence
do you
of what
defend October the... Tell me about October the 7th. What are your views on it?
What do you want me to tell you about October
Ahmed,
7th?
what are your views on October the 7th? What do you think?
October 7th was a terrible attack.
Okay. And didn't really demonstrate that sacred tenet that you told me about Muslims who are not allowed to be anti-Semitic. Wasn't kind of a celebration of Muslims not being anti-Semitic, was it? What happened on October the 7th? The massacre of 1,200 innocent Israelis.
Kevin, let me tell you something. If you live in a house and you let in a stranger, and that stranger then takes over your house, kills your whole family, but leaves your son.
Okay, so you're saying you're saying October the 7th was justified. You're saying October the 7th was justified then?
No, I'm just explaining a simple.
Yeah, no, you're trying to justify October the 7th.
I didn't mention October 7th.
Well, you did. You just said if somebody.
Imagine a stranger comes into your house. Let me talk.
Yeah.
Imagine a stranger comes into your house.
Yeah.
Kills your family, takes your house.
Like what Hamas did on October the 7th, yeah.
But leaves your young son there.
Yeah.
What's your son going to do?
So you're trying, but what you're saying is, you're saying there are circumstances that justify what happened on October the 7th. I would suggest that there aren't. But listen, Ahmed.
You put words into my mouth. I didn't say that.
Well, Ahmed, listen.
I didn't say that. Listen. But I did say Israel are committing genocide. And
again, you're a lawyer. You know that legally that has not been established. Let me just look. It's been good of you to come on. What would you like to say about, as we part company, friends, I hope. What would you like to say about your demonstration, your protest march on Thursday? Just tell me what you want to say. Maybe you want to tell people where they've got to meet or whatever. What would you like to say?
Well, I want to say it's going to be a peaceful march. People from all over the country are going to be joining us, and we're going to be standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine and against Israel, against the apartheid regime of Israel, against the land-grabbing genocidal regime of Israel. And we're going to be showing our frustration by way of protesting. Protesting is our human right. And one day, in our lifetimes, there will be a free Palestine.
Let's talk about this strange speech that the Chancellor of the Exchequer made today. We've never had this before. It was like softening us up. Those promises I made about not putting any taxes up, well, I'm going to have to break them, but it's not my fault. It's international financial headwinds. It's Brexit. It's the Tories. It's everyone. It's not my fault. But the headline is she's going to break her promises and she's going to tax the hell out of us, which will go down like a cup of cold sick. But she mentioned all these factors. Her imaginary £20 billion black financial hole that the Tories left, which the Financial Times later said they could find no evidence of. She didn't mention the very real £50 billion black hole that she's made all by herself due to her crushing, economy-killing budget, £40 billion tax grab last October. She didn't mention that. But she talked about Brexit, of course, always Brexit, isn't it? But what she also didn't mention, which is a really important economic factor, is the migrant crisis. The migrant crisis is costing us conservatively at the moment £4.5 billion a year, £6 million every single day. Plus we're spending more and more money on the one-in, one-out scheme. We've got various arrangements being made with this ludicrous border security command. They're going to get another $100 million or pounds to get more drones and surveillance equipment. It's costing us a fortune to the extent that it does affect the economy. And so what we would like to see is this migrant crisis being solved. Instead, what have we got? The one-in, one-out scheme, which is just a national joke. It's just a laughing stock, absolutely pathetic. And plans to put more and more migrants, asylum seekers, into military bases as opposed to hotels. That's it. They've got no clue whatsoever, have they, Stephen, what to do about the migrant crisis. If they could solve it, that would be a real boom for the economy, but not much sign of that solution, I don't think.
Well, they can solve it if they want to. So the obvious conclusion is that they don't want to solve it. But this speech today, I've never seen anything like it. It's the Chancellor committing self-harm, effectively, for the nation. She has harmed the economy merely by giving this speech. You know, all of the economic indicators went down immediately after she finally finished her word salad.
Actually, I'll hand it to Kemi Badenoch. She called it a waffle ball, which is a good expression. Actually, before you go on, Stephen, let's have a little listen to Rachel Reeves's waffle ball this morning in number 10 Downing Street.
I will make the choices necessary to deliver strong foundations for our economy. My budget, led by this government's values of fairness and opportunity, and focused entirely on the priorities of the British people: protecting our NHS, reducing our national debt, and improving the cost of living.
Yeah, that's all going swimmingly, isn't it? And before we talk, Stephen, one more film clip. This is Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, revealing her disdain for the speech that Rachel Reeves made today.
The Chancellor's speech was one long waffle bomb. A laundry list of excuses. She blamed absolutely everybody else for her own choices, her own decisions, her own failures. She claims she will focus on the priorities of the British public. Whose priority is it to pay more tax? It is basic economics that if you tax something, you get less of it. Remember those graduates who aren't finding work? Some people are blaming AI. It's not AI's fault. You can draw a direct line between what Rachel Reeves did in the budget last year and the dire prospects that many of those graduates are facing now.
I'm finding Kemi Badenoch more and more easy to agree with. I think she's absolutely right there. And that was a waffle bomb from the Chancellor. But you know, what's very sinister about it is it's quite clearly an exercise in softening up the electorate so that we know what to expect. So she's basically, this morning, she said, oh, you know that manifesto pledge? And you know when I said last year my £40 billion tax grab will be the very last? Well, turns out I was lying. It's not going to happen. There is going to be a huge tax raid on the long-suffering British public.
Yeah, and it's hard to not conclude that they're doing all of this deliberately. I mean, is she so... She'd have to be phenomenal. I don't believe she's stupid enough to believe the things that she says. So actually looking at her, I'm starting to worry that she's...
I do. I believe she's stupid enough. I do.
Well, I mean, you know, she's a properly educated person. And we know all this from... I mean, I was taught all of this about the 1970s, that you cannot... You know, Churchill said you cannot tax your way to prosperity. The Laffer curve is real. You know, she raised taxes last budget. This is her second budget. And she crashed the economy, lost us loads of jobs, and now her black hole is from her own damage. So she's just going to move us further along this doom spiral. She cannot possibly not know that. I don't believe she doesn't know it. And I do start to worry that she's starting to look a bit ill. I worry about her health. I'm not, you know, that outburst, we all ignored it. And I think probably that was because she was a woman. If she was a man and she'd suddenly started crying in the House of Commons, I think we would have asked very serious questions about mental health. And I think we just didn't do that because it's a sort of reverse sexism. It's a sort of patronising, oh, well, she's just a woman, so maybe that's why she cried. I mean, that's 1950s logic, if any there was one. Why did she cry in the House of Commons? She must know that she's destroying the economy. She is destroying the economy. We're all going to get poorer. We can't afford to service the debt we've already got. This is not rocket science. You know, this is not complicated in any way. I think having these ideals 100 years ago is sort of forgivable when people were broadly, you know, most people weren't educated. People like my granny, you know, didn't even get O-levels, as they were then called, you know, and so you could tell the public things which were obviously stupid but sounded a bit clever. We're all so highly educated now. Surely nobody believes that increasing taxes is going to do anything other than hurt the economy. Nobody can believe that. I don't believe them when they say that.
Exactly. She's going to do it again. It's probably going to be worse this time. And what we discovered last October October, the biggest tax grab in modern history, £40 billion. She said she needed to do this to repair the damage left by the Tories, blah, blah, blah. They keep saying that. Everything is the Tories' fault, isn't it? The fact that I don't know if they really think the public are buying this claptrap, but just in case they do think that, if you're watching Rachel, if you're watching Keir, we're not buying a single damn word of it. This is all your fault. And when she imposes this necessary, massive £50 billion tax grab on us, probably, it's going to kill the economy even more. I mean, going forward, two massive tax grab budgets in a row. I mean, that is administering cyanide to the economy. It will kill it stone dead, won't it? So going forward, this next budget, it won't improve matters. She talk about fixing the foundations. It won't do that. It'll just make things even worse. As you say, this is a doom spiral.
She said she had fixed the foundations last time. She clearly didn't, and she created her own black hole. There's also incredibly stupid things they're doing, like giving away money to Pakistan to buy condoms, giving away the Chagos
It's only £111 million for Pakistani family planning. Come on, that's a
well, the Chagos Islands is an awful lot more than £100 million. It's that's up there in the 40 billion bracket, and we'll have to pay to lease a base from it. I mean, this government is self-harming our country. Why they're doing it actually interests me much more than the fact that it's happening, because it's so obvious that it's happening. They cannot possibly believe they're helping or fixing anything.
Why are
they doing this?
I think it is. You're giving them too much credit. I think we are trapped in a swirling mass of massive incompetence. These people are hopeless. They are hopeless. I mean, I refer to the migrant crisis. What are they doing about that? Nothing. Well, the only thing they hope about the migrant crisis and various other crises that we've got is that, for a couple of days something will happen and it'll take our eyes off it. We won't concentrate on it. We won't think about it. That's all they are hoping that will happen with all this mess they're making. And it's not going to fly. There is this feeling that we are in the hands of incompetent, hopeless idiots.
Well, if they believe any of this, then that's all that they can possibly be. The general public, I think if we bear any shoulder of the blame, it's that during the Blair years and perhaps even the Cameron years, because everything was fine, we vaguely ignored politics. And I think that may have allowed politicians to get rather big heads and think rather more of themselves than they ought to have done. We're all now paying attention because everything is absolutely falling apart. I mean, all crime is at an all-time record low. The cost of living crisis will be directly impacted by the theft crisis we have. That makes products more expensive. That's just simple economics. But we are now paying much more attention, and they don't seem to be up to the ball. These people are they'd be low-grade admin officers.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Rachel from accounts. We need to talk about the BBC. This is a very, very serious crisis. We have a Director General, Tim Davie, who earns about £545,000 a year. He has presided over scandal after scandal after scandal. From Gary Lineker, the various social media posts ending in his anti-Semitic social media post. Hugh Edwards, the astonishing saga of the lead anchor who turned out to be a paedophile. Of course, the Gaza documentary that failed to mention that the teenage narrator host was the son of a Hamas government minister. And of course, Gaza, the Glastonbury, the Bob Villan debacle, and now this, and on it goes. So this is like 5 serious scandals. This is the worst. The President of the United States has been seriously defamed by the BBC's flagship programme, Panorama. Who is responsible, we're not quite sure, but this went out last October. This was a programme that went out last October, and it turns out that, guess what? A Video of him making his speech, his famous speech on 2021, January the 6th, when he claimed he'd had the election stolen from him when Biden actually won. It made it look as if Trump was saying to the crowd, get up to Capitol Hill, let's insurrection, violently assault that building. He did nothing of the type. They just made it look as if he did that. So whoever's responsible, you know, has done something really terrible to the president of our greatest ally. In other words, they abducted his speech to make it look as if he called for the violent assault on Capitol Hill. He did nothing of the sort. In actual fact, he did quite the reverse. Now, this must surely mean that Tim Davie, the calamitous Director General, who just presides over one long procession of scandals, this must be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This time, surely he has to go. Meanwhile, I would suggest this might be the end of the line, or it should be the end of the line, for the £431,000 a year head of news at BBC, Deborah Turness, who thought there was a distinction between the political and military wings of Hamas. You know, she's not exactly across her brief for a kickoff. She has presided over the BBC News Department's atrociously biased coverage of the Gaza conflict, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. Both of these people have to go this time, don't they? Kemi Badenoch leading the charge, saying heads must roll, usually in times of great crisis at the BBC, the state broadcaster that we pay for. Deputy heads roll. This time, senior heads have to go. I think Davie and Turness must surely go.
I mean, this is, I think, the most serious scandal to hit the BBC for a very long time. I mean, the Hugh Edwards scandal is of a very different nature, and I think we were talking about this last night. You know, this is about the integrity of the BBC's journalism, around which many questions are regularly raised about institutional left-wingery, and in particular over the Israel-Gaza conflict. We've seen an awful lot of sort of suspicious bias, really, in my opinion. But this is really, really serious. You can't deny this one. I mean, it's just right there, isn't it? You know, it's not something that the corporation can, David Lammy style, bluster its way out of. I would just like to know exactly how it happened. I'm intrigued. Who actually did this? You know, because of course it wasn't Tim Davie or the head of news. You know, this would have happened much lower down the food chain. And it's fascinating to know, you know, who was in on the conspiracy, how many people were involved. You know, I have some sort of sympathy, I suppose, for those at the top, because they would surely have had no idea whatsoever that this was being done. But what processes failed for this to have happened? I mean, this was quite a sort of seminal speech. So how wasn't it checked by multiple people when the final kind of cut of Panorama was put together? Yeah, I mean, who actually did it is intriguing. But the point is, the BBC have known about this for a long time. This was a programme, Panorama show, called Trump, A Second Chance. It was broadcast on the 28th of October last year, so just over a year ago. It was made for the BBC by a company called October Films Limited. Now, a former journalist, a guy called Michael Prescott, was on the BBC's Editorial Guidelines and Standards Committee. And he alerted the BBC to this some time ago and said, you've got to do something about this. This is serious. And was essentially ignored. And so he's quit, and he's made this, he's resigned in fury, and he's made this public. And the BBC now are landed, I think, as you quite rightly say, with their biggest scandal so far. This is very serious. Now, Donald Trump, when America's answer to Panorama, 60 Minutes show goes out on CBS, when they doctored Kamala Harris
to make her look better than she was and make him look worse than he was. He sued them and won $16 million. He will sue Panorama. He will sue the BBC, which will plunge it into an even bigger mess than it's in now. At least I predict he will. I just think that there's a sort of sick culture of BBC, a self-satisfied culture, whereby they check their own facts with themselves. BBC Verify. It's got a wage bill of more than £3 million a year. It's got 61 staff working there. And so basically the BBC says, oh yeah, we checked it with Verify. Well, BBC Verify's got quite a long list of getting things wrong. Its most famous thing was an agricultural assessment, I think it was of the EU, where they said, yeah, here's the facts. Well, the trouble was they confused hectares with acres, and therefore they were completely wrong. And there are many other examples where they haven't exactly been bang on. So it's this self-satisfied belief in their own, beauty that is at the root of the cause. Very quickly, this is it for Davey, isn't it?
Well, you'd like to think so, though Teflon Tim seems to get away with an awful lot, doesn't he?
Not this time, I don't think. Jake, you tweeted about this. Let's do this in chronological order. Dawn French in June, the 6th to be precise, posted this.
Complicated. No, but nuanced. But, bottom line is no. Yeah, but, they did a bad thing to us. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, but no. But we want that land and we don't know, a lot of history and we got, no. Those people, not even people, are they really? No.
So she's referring there to the Middle Eastern conflict, Israel and Gaza, talking about the October the 7th, as if to say, well, stop moaning about what happened on October the 7th. No, they did a bad thing. No. Well, she's come a long way since the Vicar of Dibley, hasn't she? And I think what's surprising, because that post on social media, Jake, caused a widespread offence, not just amongst Jewish people. A lot of people found that very offensive and thought, what is typical sort of showbiz, we don't like Israel much, we love Palestine. So very offensive to many people, which makes it all the more surprising, I think, that what is essentially a Jewish company, Marks and Spencer's, has retained the service of Ms. French for its latest Christmas TV commercial, because she's been doing this for some years. Many of us thought that after that June post, perhaps they might think again and get some other celebrity, but no. Have a look at this.
Driving home for Christmas, yeah. I can't wait to see. Oh, how long have we been here? Oh, I know. Ooh, hang on, Frenchie. And... Here we go.
Maccabi Tel Aviv! Sorry.
Ow! Oh, fairy, yes, please. We're closed. Really? We're open, apparently. Oh, look at these lovely prawny things.
They're M&S Black Tiger Prawn Paella Bites.
Just help yourself if you'd like to. That's it, you have. Ooh, fish chips and peas. Overcoat.
Do you have any fondue?
No, Twinkle. But I do have this delicious, pork mushroom pate by Tom Kerridge.
Rod's gone mad. This is not just food. This is M&S Christmas food.
Well, Jake, good to see the standard issue lady in a hijab there, celebrating Christmas. Always the same, isn't it? But Marks and Spencer's didn't really get the memo on Dawn French, did they? I'm surprised that they've retained her services.
Well, Kevin, first of all, I can't believe you made me sit through that entire nauseating advert.
I know, we've done Marks and Spencer's a big favour as well, haven't we, inadvertently?
I hope you didn't lose any viewers turning off during the middle of that. But yeah, I mean, you know, look, it turns the stomach, really. I mean, clearly it reinforces the message that, you know, in this day and age when it's unacceptable to offend anybody, any minority group, everyone's hypersensitive about everything, there's one group that you can target with impunity, and that's the Jews. And I'm afraid that's the message that comes across. But, you know, Dawn French, I mean, that video that you played of her minimising October the 7th, dismissing it, putting on that baby voice as if it was nothing more than a little bad thing that the Israelis are complaining about. I mean, that's just the most depraved video that I've seen in quite some time, and it's shocking in her total denseness, frankly. And one can't help but think that if Dawn French was around with her phone during World War II, she would have made a similar video saying, oh, Hitler, you know, invaded Poland, got death camps, he's a tyrant, he wants to take over the world and invade Britain. No. Don't bomb Germany.
Exactly right.
That, frankly, there's only one message which needs to go to M&S from all right-thinking people, and that's M&S, no. Don't do it again. Pull the ad. No, it can't happen.
Exactly right. And since we're on the subject of your excellent social media post, just a quick word before you go, Jake. You posted about Mamdani, the new communist Muslim mayor of New York. Nothing wrong with him being a Muslim, of course, but he is a communist. He wants to defund the police. He doesn't want to send anyone to jail. He wants kind of free food bodegos all over Manhattan. And you posted a picture saying what could possibly go wrong. This in a town like New York, a guy like that as mayor of New York, it's going to be a catastrophe. And we know a lot of the poor New Yorkers pain, what they're about to go through, because of course here we have Sadiq Khan. Good luck to the poor people of Manhattan, eh?
We have Sadiq Khan, and we have Keir Starmer, and we have Rachel Reeves, which we might as well have had Jeremy Corbyn, frankly. I mean, you know, Mamdani, it would be very interesting to see whether he actually governs according to the policies that he laid out while campaigning, because they're just ridiculous nonsense on stilts type policies with free stuff for everyone, free apartments, like you say, free food, free buses, no police. You know, what could possibly go wrong, as I said? And of course, everything underpinned by a real hatred for Israel. He said that he got into politics not because of New York, but because of Israel. That was his reason for getting into American politics, weirdly enough, talking about serving foreign interests. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see whether he actually is ideological and fanatical enough to roll out those atrocious policies which are going to turn New York into some kind of, you know, Leningrad, or whether he's actually going to wise up and be clever and water down those policies so that New York isn't such a disaster, which gives him the chance of then making his way further in politics.
Well, in the words of the song, I think there may be trouble ahead. In other news, as pressure grows on Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy after his lamentable performance in the Commons yesterday, in which he refused to answer a straight question about the wrongful release of a second asylum seeker sex offender, Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has furiously torn into him for playing the race card. Well, look, let's have a look at the memory of what happened yesterday when he went into this is the Deputy Prime Minister standing in for Keir Starmer, who's off on another one of his plane trips. He loves getting on aeroplanes, our Prime Minister, like a little kid, gets very excited. This time he's in Brazil, having flown all the way 12,000 miles to South America, destroying the planet with all those aeroplane carbon emissions. He's now over there to save the planet. COP30, waste of space that is, of course. So David Lammy stood in for him, and standing in for Kemi Badenoch was the shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge. James Cartledge, a quiet man, quietly asked the Deputy Prime Minister 5 times. Could he assure the House that no more asylum seekers have been mistakenly let out of prison after the debacle surrounding the wrongful release of that guy Hadush Kabatu, the Ethiopian that they let out of Chelmsford jail mistakenly 2 weeks ago? Let's recall Lammy's moment of shame, to be honest with you.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
Let me just remind him that he was a justice minister that allowed our prisons to get to this state in the first place.
I'm going to ask him the question again. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system.
Mr. Speaker, he's the Justice Secretary. He's responsible for the justice system. He needs to take responsibility, and I'm asking him a straight question. And I'm going to repeat it once more for the avoidance of doubt, because he didn't answer it twice. He's here to answer questions. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a clear question. Can he give an answer?
Get a grip, man. I know I'm the Justice Secretary. That's why I'm at the dispatch box, also as Deputy Prime Minister. We know that.
People in Epping and right across the country want to know the answer, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to ask him again. He's the Justice Secretary. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? Can he answer the question?
I have answered the question. Under their watch, prisons were in a mess.
I'm putting to him a very clear question about his responsibilities. I repeat, can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? Can he answer the question?
In 25 years in this House, I've not witnessed a more shameful spectacle, frankly, than what the party opposite left in our justice system. Their criminal negligence on his watch as a former justice minister.
My new hero, James Cartledge, absolutely stitching Lammy up like a kipper there. I mean, Lammy, is not known for his intellect, and he walked right into that. And some serious questions now being asked, because what that was deliberate obfuscation. And by not answering that straight question, we know. I mean, Lammy's saying, I wasn't in possession of all the facts. Yes, he was. We all know that he knew about the fact that this Algerian, this second sex offender, asylum seeker sex offender, had been released last Wednesday accidentally from Wandsworth Prison here in London. He knew. He says he didn't know all of the facts. Yes, he did. What he opted to do, there's a report, or there are rumours that his team said, if you admit to this in the chamber, you'll be committing career suicide. So he obfuscated. Now, I don't think that is acceptable, because by not answering that straight, simple question, he is effectively deceiving MPs and therefore deceiving the people. That is parliamentary pollution, corruption. That is wrong, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it's wrong on so many levels, but just watching that piece of theatre there is just astounding. There was a man who was completely out of his depth, who didn't know what he was doing, who was losing his rag. I was watching it, and I kept thinking about that Christmas card with with Sherry Blair holding back Tony Blair because he looks like he's about to attack someone. Mm-hmm. So there's a sense that he really doesn't know what he's doing. But the day before, he was out buying a suit, right? But not only when he said, he tried to deny it, and then because he said he was doing it in his own time, and then his own people corrected him and said, no, it was the day before. This is a complete car crash.
He's a buffoon. He's a buffoon. By the way, the new suit he gave us the reason why when he... Oh, actually, I can talk. Mine's fallen off. Where's my poppy, anybody? Yeah, I can talk. But it has fallen off. But seriously...
You were definitely wearing one before.
Yeah. This is not the time to be saying this, but he actually did this sort of big Remembrance Day speech and wasn't wearing a poppy. So it's excuses, excuses, excuses now. Nobody believes this buffoon, this fool, this idiot, when he says, I wasn't in possession of all the facts, that's why I didn't answer that straight question. And Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, put it rather plainly when he appeared on ITV's Good Morning Britain show this morning.
David Lammy's argument that he didn't want to release it before it was official. And so the argument you're giving for the Conservative could well have been in David Lammy's mind. Maybe I better not say.
Well, Kate, it's very early in the morning and your viewers are still having their breakfast, but that, I'm afraid, if you excuse my language, is total The Met Police immediately debunked that and said that they had no objection whatsoever to David Lammy standing at the dispatch box and saying it like it was. And in fact, it would have been helpful because there's now a manhunt underway trying to find a dangerous man who endangers the public. And if David Lammy had helped to get that message out, it would have been helpful. Because look, this is serious. We can laugh about David Lammy and the clown show that he did in the House of Commons and the way he's conducting himself as the so-called Deputy Prime Minister of our country. But this is the second convicted sex offender, illegal migrant, who was due to be deported in 2 weeks, who has now been allowed to walk out of a prison without so much of anyone trying to stop them. And this man is out on the street.
Yeah, so Robert Jenrick on daytime TV, breakfast TV. This one, by the way, it's back on. Yeah, it was sort of, I put some sticky tape on there. These new ones, these paper ones, are kind of difficult to keep on. So there's it's disgraceful. David Lammy wasn't wearing his poppy. So actually, I'm going to forgive him for that. But anyway, I would never not wear one deliberately. And I'm, in fairness, nor would Lammy, I suspect. But Jenrick making it very clear that no one believes Lammy when he says he wasn't in possession of the facts. The Met Police making it pretty clear that he was appraised the night before. He knew all about it, there's no doubt about that. He was told, apparently, you admit to that in the chamber, you'll commit career suicide. Why? Just be honest with us. Be honest with us. Stop all this. It's a nonsense. Now, interesting side issue here, Philip. Before he entered the chamber and made a complete fool of himself, Lammy, standing in for the Prime Minister, he posted this on Twitter, X as it's now called, proud to be the first black person to answer at Prime Minister's questions. So, of course, Kemi, the other side of the dispatch box, old stager now, she's the Tory leader who happens to be black. So he's boasting about the fact he's the first black guy to stand in for a Prime Minister at Prime Minister's question time. Kemi Badenoch, who is in a position to do this and to say this, she said in no uncertain terms, clearly furious, she said, don't drag black people into the mess you made of yourself this afternoon. Proud moments come from performance, not pigmentation. That's pretty powerful.
Absolutely. It's brilliant from Kemi Badenoch, and it's, again, brilliant from Robert Jenrick as well. I was trying to think. Viewers might correct me on this, but I've never heard, Kev, a politician swear on television like that. That was an important moment in a way, because he was so exasperated, rightly so. It was almost like Kenneth Tynan in 1975 or the Sex Pistols in 1976. You know, it was a moment, wasn't it, actually, where things are actually changing. You're right. Well, things are actually changing. And, of course, the Tories have done all of these firsts. You know, they had the first female Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, you know, of Indian heritage, was a Prime Minister. They've done all of these things. So every time the Labour Party trot out these identitarian cliches time and time again, they're always covering up ineptitude. And as she says, this is a key thing. You know, black people don't want to be associated with complete failure and diversity hires like him. That's the very last thing they want. And this is always the downside of identity identity politics. It's the the laughing stocks always rise to the top because they always shout the loudest, and the real talent who don't shout, who just kind of do the job and stay quiet, they don't rise. That's the inequity. That's the problem with wokeness and identity politics.
And I think that the way to play, if you're a person of colour in a prominent position in politics, the way to play it is the way Rishi Sunak played it, the way Kemi Badenoch plays it, by not really mentioning it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be relevant. It isn't particularly relevant. I mean, Kemi Badenoch would be the equivalent of saying, proud to be the first black woman to lead the Tory party and all this sort of stuff. It demeans the whole racial debate. It really does. And him boasting about it and then making an oafish fool of himself like that, I mean, quite what he thinks that achieved, I don't know. Well, listen, let me know what you think about that, the race issue, and also I think this is important. I said this to Isabel Oakeshott last night. I think that rules of the House have to be changed. Old Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has to be able to. He's not empowered to do this at the moment. He's very fond of saying, if you don't be quiet, I'll have you thrown out of chamber. No, I've told you before. I've told you. No. I won't have that. I won't have that. I won't have that. He loves all that crap. But what he should be allowed to do... It's quite good, that, wasn't it?
It was
I
fantastic.
won't have that. No. I've told the honourable member before. I've had that to my repertoire. I'm
joking.
So, but I think what Lindsay Hoyle... Take this seriously, Philip. I'm trying to make a very serious...
It's just I'm from up there, and it's a really, really good accent.
Right, yeah, this sort of the posh southern boy taking the mickey out of southerners. They love all that out of northerners, yeah. So briefly, though, talk about the BBC, Philip. Well, the net's closing on the bungling Director General, Tim Davie. I mean, I don't think he can survive this, that panorama doctoring, that speech, the Capitol Hill speech of Donald Trump in 2021, the famous January the 6th, storming of Capitol Hill. They doctored it to make it look as if Trump made a speech saying, get up there and fight. He did nothing of the sort. He actually said the opposite. He actually made a speech to diffuse tension. Didn't quite work, but he did his best. So a very, very serious situation here, twisting the truth about the President of the United States. Donald Trump doesn't tend to let this sort of thing go, and the chances are he may well sue the BBC for this. And the Director General, Tim Davie, I think will have to go after Gary Lineker, Hugh Edwards, the Gaza documentary, and of course the Bob Villain at Glastonbury. He's going to have to go. Well, I say he's going to have to. Who knows? You know what happens at the BBC when it's in times of real trouble. Deputy heads roll. But the head of news, Deborah Turness, as well, is in the firing line due to the years of really biased reporting on Gaza. Very, very pro-Palestine, bitterly anti-Israel. Lots and lots of questions to ask there. Breaking news up in Aston Villa. There's been 6 arrests so far, so it's beginning to kick off. Like I say, I don't want to sound like I want it to kick off. I mean, I'm looking at it now. It seems kind of okay. Lots of people milling around. It almost looks as if the coppers are out numbering the crowd, which is good. But in these circumstances, you can never tell what will happen. So we'll go back there and talk to Nick Ellaby after the 8 o'clock news. But also, we learned today about the BBC. This is just, BBC is just one long... clown show, really. We've learned that in 3 years, the state broadcaster spent £18 million on travel and accommodation. And over 5 years of astonishing waste, it spaffed more than £200,000 on trains, taxis and hotels that were never used.
That were never used?
Never used.
Extraordinary.
So £18 million on travel and accommodation over 3 years, £200,000 on train tickets, on taxis, booked taxis and booked hotels that were never used. This is the BBC for it. We give the BBC £3.5 billion every year in licence fee money. It swims in money, and this is the way it wastes us. This is our money. I want to find out from you folks, how do you like your licence fee money getting poured down the drain like this? 03444991000. Your thoughts, Philip?
Well, I'm just looking at this, and an example that really stands out here. There's a £500 taxi fare. One taxi fare for £500 from Salford to Oxford. Now, they could have jumped on the train. My thoughts are that you shouldn't pay the TV licence because they are working towards you. And I'm putting together these two stories. I'm looking at this gross anti-Semitism right across the Aston area of Birmingham, and I'm connecting it to the BBC because they publish and broadcast anti-Semitism time and time again.
They do.
You know, so you can't disassociate these things. And this waste is just genuinely shocking. But it's part of all of this establishment stuff. It's all the same, isn't it? Because they're all the same people. Working class kids don't tend to go to university anymore, right? So they don't get on the BBC training schemes anymore. The people who go to work for the BBC are all the same kinds of people, the Ponsonby Smythes, I call them, the chattering classes, the upper classes. They're exactly the same kind of people who go into this media, and they live in this bubble, this identitarian bubble that is obsessed with race, that is obsessed with gender, obsessed with sexuality, and obsessed with Israel. So all of this stuff is linked, and the BBC actually is at the heart of it. It's like the civil service. It's part of the blob, and they are working against us. And the irony is we have to pay for it.
Well, still with the BBC, just a brief one, almost funny really. Now, Martine Croxall is a newsreader who in the past, she's quite a sort of left-wing activist. I haven't particularly taken kindly to. She once was in big trouble because when I think it was at the point when Boris Johnson actually stepped down as Prime Minister, she went on screen like that.
This is the BBC.
She literally celebrated BBC. The demise of political demise of Boris Johnson. So I haven't particularly liked her, but I like her here, and she's in trouble again. The BBC has upheld 20 impartiality complaints over the way presenter Martine Croxall altered a script she was reading live on the BBC News channel, which referred to pregnant people. She's a woman, I think she thinks, and I'm with you, Martine, if you're watching, she thinks pregnant people is sexist against women, you know, biological females, women. So when she was presented with a script introducing an interview about research on groups most at risk during heat waves, this quoted a release from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She was halfway through. She said, Malcolm Mystery, who was involved in the research, says that aged pregnant people, and I remember I've seen this, and she went pregnant people like that, and then she went women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions. 20 complaints came in about her disdain for the term pregnant people and pulling her face. She's been found, the complaints, 20 impartiality complaints have been upheld against Martine Croxall, a woman who took offence, who decided to say, I'm not going to say pregnant people, I'm going to say women. And when made to say pregnant people, went just as I would, to be honest with you. This is the BBC in all its lack of glory again, isn't it?
This is the BBC versus reality and the people of Britain. Okay, so 20
and reality's
people,
losing.
And 20 people complain. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, supported her, actually. But this is a really interesting one, isn't it? So, an ostensibly or previously left-wing woman. This is how the left is falling apart over particular issues. And gender is one of those issues, isn't it? Because they see they are in danger from men who wear, you know, wearing a pair of knickers and lipstick doesn't allow you to grow a cervix.
Exactly.
Ask David Lammy. No, don't. In second second thoughts, don't ask David Lammy. Don't ask David Lammy. He's the last person
he
you want
won't
to ask.
know. He just won't know. But look, here's to you, Martine Croxall. I think you did the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, you stood up for women.
Yeah.
They're not pregnant people. They're pregnant women. Men don't get pregnant. All right, that's ridiculous.